Today I'm continuing on with the Cold Prey trilogy with part 2, which came out in 2008. And it's one of those sequels that kind of knows exactly what it's doing. It knows what worked really well in the first one, and it's going to heighten it. It's going to add a little bit more of a bigger budget, a little bit expand the character base, victim base. It's going to create another great location. It's going to bring back our heroine from the first film and our killer mountain man to cause more carnage once more. And what I like most about this is that it follows the Halloween 2 blueprint. But it's probably a better movie than that, I would say. And the film starts off right with our main character Jannicke, who has just survived the events of the first film. She is deeply traumatized, injured, and the only survivor of what happened at that abandoned hotel. She's taken to hospital, and for a brief moment everything feels fine. She's turning a new leaf, she's getting better, everything's going to be great. And that's the cruel joke of the movie, because in horror, hospitals should be safe places. They're places of recovery, of order and authority. They're doctors, nurses, police officers, lights, equipment, phones, and people who are there and supposed to know what they're doing. But Cold Prey 2 slowly turns the hospital into another death trap. And once the mountain man is brought into that space, it shifts from survival into full slasher mode. Like I said, the obvious comparison here is Halloween 2. It's that same idea of taking the final girl out of the first nightmare and putting her in a hospital and letting the horror follow her there. And that setup works because it feels that the story is continuing rather than restarting again. Jannicke doesn't get to wake up in a whole new life. She doesn't get to process what's happened. This is a straight continuation. She survives one night and that leads immediately into the next day and what comes from there. And it really gives the sequel a strong emotional engine pushing it forward. This isn't just, oh, the colour's back. It's, oh no, she has to survive all over again. She knows a little bit more about what's going on and knows to be proactive this time around. I love the hospital setting. It really recontextualizes the first film. It gives it a different feeling. The abandoned hotel with the history and the darkness and the dust and the almost evil that's embedded into that is gone. You're moving into something that should be a place of healing, a place of help, but there is something quietly eerie about it as well. The silence, the rickety gurneys that they push along, the skeleton staff that it has here, the operating rooms, it just feels icky in a certain sense. Should be more populated than it is. It's less gothic than the hotel, but it works because it gives the killer a whole new space for him to unleash his creative energy, shall we say. This follows the sequel blueprint of more everything, more action, more blood. And that's the biggest difference between the two films. For the first, Cold Prey is more contained. It's about the group, the hotel, the isolation, and the slow tightening trap for them. Cold Prey 2 is a lot more active. There are more people in danger, there are more moving parts, there's more people in that building, and more opportunities for our killer to do what he does best. Definitely pushing everything, more bloodier, more aggressive, and that's a different taste from the first one, and it just emphasises how more of a different animal this is. And it's not ridiculous or in a cartoonish way enough that you can feel it trying to give the audience a bigger and better experience without going into being silly or ridiculous. I do like the mountain man aspect of this, the way that he is brought into the hotel. The reason that he comes back isn't supernatural, it is down to what a hospital should do, reviving people who are almost gone. In the first film, he felt like part of the mountain, part of the landscape, like a mythical beast stalking the way. In this building that is a clean city medical space, he doesn't really belong. He is huge, he takes up the corridor, he is a violent piece of mountain dragged into this civilization, and the hospital is completely unprepared for him. He has this force about him, and in a slasher way, it's a really great evolution of the character. Still having him be what he does best, but putting him in these tight corridors or these condensed rooms really allows him to show his violent tendencies and how big and hulking and behemoth that he is. I think one of the reasons this works as well is because of the shorthand going into it. You know our main actress, you know the killer, and it just ramps up that pacing. We get introduced to some new people, but it doesn't waste too much time pretending that we don't know what's going on. It dives right into it, and because it has that quicker foundation, it's quicker into the action and quicker into the carnage, and that really works well for the film. It is a straight continuation. It doesn't feel like a lazy sequel where we're rehashing what was done previously. They're trying something new, they're continuing that story, and I think that that's one of the key aspects of the film. Jannicke is brought back here not because the horror sequel needs the final girl from the previous movie, because it's her story. It's continuing her story. She's the one who understands the role of survival, and this gives her another showcase to show how she is going to fight back against everything the world throws at her. Again, not a perfect movie. There are some things that don't quite work. It doesn't feel wholly unique. It has that Halloween 2 feel to it. When it started, I immediately thought back to that movie and how that was going, how it removed that wonderfully unique setting from the first movie. And yes, it would have been lazy to go back there, but I do kind of miss that really interesting landscape that it had. It's more about escalation. It's about more blood, more violence, more gore. Not necessarily bad, it's just different. The second film is bloodier, more action driven, where the first one was more about tension and the group coming together and trying to survive. Still, it's a really solid movie, on par with the first one, and it feels like the second part of that story. Let's dive into the disc and have a look at the extras. Here we are in the disc for Cold Prey 2. Let's go to the extras. First up, we have a commentary with director Mats Stenberg. Then we have an interview with Matt Stenberg, a blessing and a curse, which is 31 minutes 58 seconds, and he talks about getting the job, moving into production, the idea of following up on that first film. We have Disassociation, an interview with actor Ingrid Bolso Berdal, which is 10 minutes 49 seconds, and she's actually talking a lot about the lack of memory she's got for this, how she was working so much at the time, and the idea of how she tried to get into the character, how it was an interesting task continuing this character after the events of the first one. We have Stepping Aside, an interview with associate producer Roar Uthag, which runs for 10 minutes 49 seconds. Again, he's kind of talking about almost instantly starting to think about a sequel for this one after the success of the first one, and what they were going to do and how they really wanted to change the location. Then we have Behind the Scenes, which is 34 minutes 7 seconds, and just shows them filming, talking heads after various elements. We have Bloopers, which is 3 minutes 9 seconds, and Extended Deleted Scenes, which is 5 minutes 29 seconds. And that's the extras for Cold Prey 2. So there we have it. Cold Prey 2 is a solid slasher sequel, probably on par with the first one for me. I think the first one has a better location and a more isolated atmosphere. The second one has a stronger sequel momentum, building on that carnage. If you want more blood and you didn't feel the first one delivered on that, you're getting it with the second one. Jannicke reveals she's a great kind of final girl. The Mountain Man is a really interesting villain, and this was a satisfying conclusion, I feel, of this story. I'm looking forward to going into part 3 to see what that has to offer as well. Hopefully it'll be another really interesting entry into this series. I would love to know your thoughts on Cold Prey 2. Let me know in the comment box below whether you love it, hate it, or fall somewhere in the middle. As always, there is more content up here. You can see more of my stuff in the description box below, or links to Patreon, membership program, manvfilm.com. Always in which you can support me. Thanks for watching. See you next time.